Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
Now, if you have been paying attention to what has been going on in our colleges, we're going to get serious for a minute here, then you will know that various things have been going on, right? We have teachers indoctrinating our students with various things that make us all uncomfortable. One of which appears to be anti-Semitism. A full third of Jewish kids going to schools in America experience anti-Semitism. Think about that. A third. And so now a bunch of rabbis have come forward and they've said that what we should stop doing is teaching these diversity programs. Well, joining us to talk about some of that is Francesco Gonzalez. And Francesco, you're very welcome. How are you, sir? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas Eve, Simon. Thank you for having me.
Did you get all three of the Eves?
I think I did.
three Eves, yes. Christmas Eve right now. We're very excited for that. We even did an impression of Elf earlier on in today's show. But, okay, so look, this is... I'm a Jew, okay? And I've experienced anti-Semitism. My dad, when he was a small boy in London, which is where I was born, he was quite literally crucified. They nailed him up on a wooden wall. So anti-Semitism is not something I take lightly. A third of our university students, our Jewish university students, a third of them have experienced anti-Semitism. And these rabbis think it's these inclusion programs, the diversity programs, that's at the root of the problem.
Correct. And so, Simon, I've actually had the opportunity to look over the study, and I find it to be appalling that these things are going on in our higher education, in academia. The goal of academia should always be to teach the student to process, gather, archive information, and with that, with the student's personal life experience, sort of make a contribution to society based on his or her ability to process that information that they are able to gather. Unfortunately, we are seeing this push for diversification, but I think that the only diversity that truly matters is diversity of thought, right? Thought and ideas, because you, with your background and me with my background, and we're presented with a set of data, we each may arrive at a different conclusion, but together we may create something extraordinary because we come from such different backgrounds, right?
Well, that's great. I mean, listen, that's how university is supposed to be. I completely agree. You and I are on 100% the same page in regards to that. And you're right, we may have completely different ideas about any given subject. We don't even have to talk about what the subject is. We may have completely different ideas. University, back in the day... Man, I age myself when I say that stuff. But it's true. This was great. This was stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning with somebody you completely disagree with. And between the two of you, you would solve the world's problems or you'd be very drunk by the end of it. One of those two things would happen, or maybe both of those things would happen. That was the university experience. And it's not like that anymore. You cannot be on the wrong political side, for example, and expect it to be okay in your university. We know of conservative students who keep their mouths shut for fear of being graded down by their professors and ostracized by their fellow students.
Right. And so I think I'd like to quote one of my undergraduate constitutional law professors at the University of North Texas, Dr. Kimmy King. She always told us that justice is not a destination, it's a journey. And I think that when we set ourselves to this idea that diversity is a destination, we set ourselves up for failure, and ultimately we do a disservice to academia and to our students because we fail to deliver to them the ability to think critically. We also need to sort of drive home the point that someone who disagrees with you is not your enemy. See, I myself, I'm a world of contrast. I'm a gay man, but I'm also conservative. I'm an immigrant, but I am pro immigration laws, right? So strengthening our border protections, right?
I'm very sorry to hear you're a lawyer, but that aside, you and I are fine together.
Yeah.
Was it harder coming out as gay or coming out as a lawyer?
Well, actually, I'm not a lawyer. I think you just heard me. I'm an entrepreneur, but law was sort of one of my passions. So most of my what are they called? Extracurricular activities were like moot court and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So I found myself really fascinated with wrestling with legal concepts. And back in my day too, it was okay to have a different opinion. You were not ostracized, right? And
yep.
I think that is what's so important and is missing from academia these days, that freedom to express your ideas without fear of retribution. I, myself, as a conservative, find myself having to silence myself, right, in certain groups that
That's awful.
It really is.
Let me ask you the question I just asked you in a joking way, in a serious way. Was it harder to come out as a gay man or as a conservative?
As a conservative, easy, hands down. It is so much harder this day and age to come out as a conservative because the immediate question is, why do you hate yourself? Right? And,
wow.
and it's this idea that's like, okay, well, I don't hate myself, and it is possible to exist in two different worlds, right? It's possible to be a conservative, and it's possible to be gay. It's possible to believe certain things. It's possible to believe that certain things are not permitted within the Constitution. And I really do believe, Simon, that if any of the discussions that we are having in academia, in politics, are not making us uncomfortable, we're not discussing them properly.
I would completely agree with you, but we also live in a world where there's not a free press. Here's a prime example that I know you can relate to. So we're being told by our press, or we were told a few months ago, that we now have the first openly gay member of a presidential cabinet. That is not true. The first openly gay member of a presidential cabinet was Rick Grinnell. But he was a member of Donald Trump's cabinet, and therefore somehow doesn't count.
Correct. And that's exactly what my fear is as a gay man, that if I support conservative ideas, if I support the Trump administration, I don't count. Somehow my opinions are less than. And that is the fear as a gay man that I have to live with and wrestle with on a daily basis. It really is tragic. I wouldn't say that it's sad. It's tragic what's happening because we are excluding so many voices.
We really are.
From the discourse, from the public discourse.
And you know, the university students are not getting the university experience that they should be getting, which is you can be really good friends with somebody you disagree with. They're not getting that. They're not allowed to have that. Even their professors are stopping that from happening. So I want to come back because it's radio and we're always short on time. I mean, believe it or not, we've already been chatting for 8 minutes. I want to come back to where we started. These rabbis who are very concerned with the amount of anti-Semitism there is on campus, and there is, if you're just joining us, a third of Jewish kids are going to university. Have experienced some degree of anti-Semitism. And we've got some rabbis now that are saying the answer to all of this is that our universities need to suspend their diversity programs. What do you make of that?
Well, I tend to agree with the rabbis that this idea that you have to meet a certain quota, whether it's a quota of African-American students, a quota of Latino students, a quota of gay students, you've got to suspend that. The only diversity that matters is diversity of thought and idea. And I think that universities have a responsibility to their pupils to create the environment where the thought and ideas are truly diverse, right? There is no guarantee that the color of your skin is going to somehow give you the ability to generate provocative thought, right? And what I mean by provocative is provocative in the sense that it's going to advance the human understanding of a subject. Okay?
Yep.
So it's truly a disservice, and I think that I would side with rabbis. And at the end of the day, if the programs are working and are achieving what they're supposed to be achieving, then you re-implement them and you go on with your life. But if they are not, then they should be subject to scrutiny.
Yeah, and you get cancelled for saying that out loud these days, right?
You do. You really do.
I've enjoyed our conversation. We should do it again. You've sparked a memory for me as well. It was a long time ago, back in the land of my birth, and it went on all night. I had a conversation with a young woman who was pre-med. I'm sure she's an expert doctor by this day and age, but we solved the world's problems on the roof outside of her dorm. We talked literally all night till the sun came up. Then we went in and had breakfast.
And
Just an amazing moment.
It really is. I'll share a similar experience. I had in constitutional law a friend who was an atheist and a very angry at Christianity. And I remember one time in undergrad, she actually told me that if it were up to her, that she would burn me at the cross with me and all my Christians. However, Simon, today she is one of my closest friends.
Well, good. Why? I'm glad that worked out.
Neither one of us knew how to be offended. We just knew how to exchange ideas. And then when that exchange of ideas ended, it stayed there. And we each learned from one another. And today, I'm happy to say that she's one of my longest-lasting friends.
That's great. Francisco Gonzalez is our guest. I've really enjoyed our conversation. If you want to find out more about Francisco, you go to www.myays.net. And that's great. I really enjoyed it. We will have you back, sir.
Thank you so very much, Simon. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Don't forget the Happy Hanukkah, by the way. But Merry Christmas.
I will not.
Merry Christmas to you. You take care.